All right, Gervase, welcome to the Mom Existence podcast. I'm so happy
Oh,
you're here.
thanks so much for having me.
I know.
Excited.
I'm excited too. I came across you and your podcast, Modern Phoenix, through Jesse Harold, who I had a month or two ago. I have no idea what month it even is. It's like the middle
Same.
of March right now when we're recording. But I just felt very drawn to you and loved your voice. I love listening to your podcast and your messaging,
Uh,
and you're so like honest and raw, which is just such a breath of fresh air. But for people that don't know about you or who you are or what you do, can you tell us who you are and what you are about?
Okay. Well, thanks for saying all that nice stuff, first of all.
My
It's so
pleasure.
nice to be with you too. I like your voice too. Um, yeah, so I call myself these days an inner transformation coach. I've been in this field for 11 years now. My oldest child is 11. And she was kind of like my catalyst for changing my life, really, changing my career, changing my identity, healing like 1,000 layers deeper. Like everything happened really when I became a mom for the first time. And which is why I'm so excited to be here to talk about
hmm
that, because I used to work exclusively with mothers, actually. It was like all I wanted to talk about, all I wanted to work through. And then something shifted like a few years ago, and I realized that I was connecting with women, all kinds of women, all over. And we were talking about um, several layers deeper than I expected. Like all the stuff that comes before motherhood and like what does make a person who they are and how do we get here and how do we get so tangled up? Some of us, I don't claim to say that everybody has the same experience, but my experience was feeling like I was all tangled up in knots, trying to figure out who I was before I understood very clearly who I was supposed to be. And that message, I got it from my mother. I got it from my immediate family. I got it from culture, society. I got it from mothers that I knew and met. I got it from the workplace, like just all these different messagings in my life, my whole life that just were like, this is the way to do it. These are the things you should be afraid of. These are the things you should what's the word?
You
Not
should.
chase, but like go after, like really these are the standards. These are the guideposts and then one day being like, I don't resonate with any of this. Like this isn't actually what I care about or who I am. I've just been like masking and pretending and performing my entire life to be something that I thought was like palatable enough. And obviously, a lot of that is unconscious. It wasn't like I was
hmm
consciously changing my personality. And so I just have found over the last decade, particularly since motherhood, everything has been about untangling and clearing away layers and layers of who I thought I needed to be to allow who I authentically am to really be enough, to use her voice loud and proud, to be, um, the real raw, weird version of me everywhere. And also helping other women to do the same because I find that we all have so much we really need to unlearn before we can show up in the world and feel safe in our bodies and souls to be who we actually are. And so I hope that my work guides women to begin that journey and know that it's a lifetime journey.
It is.
Do
I
it a
feel
million
like
times.
motherhood really kickstarts such a
Mhm.
huge transformation. And I'm only 2 years into it. My son just turned 2.
Mm,
And I feel like that as you get older, and then, like I said, motherhood just kind of kickstarts that. But I am reflecting on my childhood beliefs, things that are kind of a part of you and have been instilled in you, but like you don't necessarily agree with anymore or they're not serving you. And I find it such a weird, I'm in this weird time where I want to kind of shed some of those layers and
mm.
deprogram some of these things, but it's hard and it's confusing.
It's a twisty, turny
Like you said,
journey.
untangle. Like how,
Mhm.
I guess when you became a mother 11 years ago,
Mhm.
Was there a point in time in the beginning or just over the years where you started to be like, I don't know, or reflecting on your own experience as a child, kind of being now on the other side of the table as a mom? Like, what was that experience like for you, and when did that start?
Well, this is kind of like it feels like a complicated question for me to answer because so much, while I do genuinely feel like my life began when my daughter was born, and by my life began, I mean, like, I really began to, what's the word? Like,
Like, kind of hold a mirror up? Like, is that a good?
I think it was more just, like, really question, like, "Who am I
Mhm.
actually, and how can I be more of this person in the world, and what do I not want in my life?" Especially because at that time, it was, like, career and, I mean, everything from, like, what am I wearing to, like, how am I spending my time to how do I make money, like, that those, like, identity type things, that really happened with my daughter's existence because the fact that she existed meant that my time became so much more precious. My bandwidth became, of course, less less to do all the things that I used to feel to do, and so I had this opportunity to have a lot more thoughtfulness and intention behind every choice that I made. And meanwhile, I will often say, like, to give people like a little here's who I am in the world. Like, I walked myself into a therapist's office when I was 18 years old
Mhm.
because um while I had a really privileged upbringing, I was the oldest of four. My parents began separating when I was 18. So, like, I didn't have any sort of fluctuation in my, like, stability at home in that way. I had a lot of weird shit, like, in my childhood, and I would go to a therapist's office, and they'd be like, "Why are you here?"
Mhm.
And I would say, "I don't really know. I just feel like I need to heal." And I have what is textbook mother wound um, stuff. And I would always say, I don't understand why I feel responsible for everyone and everything, and also like I'm letting them down at the same time. And that was like a very unique, that's like my signature, right? Like that's like my cocktail of childhood trauma showing itself. And so it caused me so much discomfort in my experience that I was going to therapy to really figure out my mother wound at a really young age so that I could feel more free. But it felt very like this is this one thing that I just got to do, like I just got to figure out this mother wound thing and then I'll be fine, like then
Mhm.
it'll be good. Like I'll
Mhm.
just check this
Magic.
box. Yeah. And as we know, like it wasn't like that at all. I mean, I would say that that was and continues to be some of like the greatest healing of my life and it was worthwhile and all of that. And then of course, I added a child and I was like, "Oh my god.
Start all over again.
Start over." Yes, go back to
Yeah.
go back to go and begin again. And this is, what I think about healing in general and why I'm so inspired by the Phoenix. Why my podcast is called The Modern Phoenix is like understanding that the journey, the Phoenix cycles is like it's endless evolutions
Mhm.
of death and rebirth, of metaphorical death and rebirth, and also understanding that every time we heal, we go a layer deeper and we're given what we need at the time we need it, when we're ready for it. Like we don't need to rush it, but also we don't need to like complete it because we'll have so many opportunities for that, like, I call them earth lessons. Like, that earth lesson's gonna come back around. That same conversation with your mother that, used to leave you paralyzed in a depressive state for, like, months, it's gonna happen again when you have a two-year-old, and you're gonna notice all the ways that you relate to that conversation differently and all the ways that you're still your mother's daughter, and you're still trying to untangle, like, how do I be me and be well and be in integrity and also have this really twisty, hard, painful experience with my mother and approach it
Mhm.
in a new way. And I find that that's the work. Like that's what healing is. So it's like motherhood. I think I'm trying to answer your question on and hit it at every angle, but I do think that motherhood for me it just made it more important. It's like everything I did became more important. Healing became more valuable. It was like the best thing I could spend my money and my time doing because, I really wanted to be mindful and intentional about how I was showing up for my kids and also like start to connect the dots
Mm.
between the mother line. Like what is happening? Like it's so confusing, like generational trauma, all that stuff. It's like I just needed better tools and a deeper understanding of how to work with it. And my kids gave me that capacity and also like devotion to that work.
Well, and good for you for recognizing at such a young age, at 18, that you
Mm.
needed an outside resource to help you get through whatever it was, even if you couldn't verbalize it. But again, that's why there are professionals. You go in, and anyone listening that could feel like they needed to unload something or they need someone or something, but they don't make that move because they can't get clarity around that. Just like you said, Gervase, going in and saying, like, I feel, even if you just say, I feel uncomfortable, there's something, whatever, you don't have to verbalize it perfectly. These people can
Mhm.
help you
Mhm.
pull that out of you, I guess, and guide you to where you need to kind of heal in a way. And I
Mhm.
feel like as women and mothers in society, we've kind of been programmed and are still programmed to act a certain way, to present ourselves a certain way, to show up a certain way. And it is really hard to, as you get older, it gets a bit easier in different ways, but it is hard to kind of let that noise be noise. It really, don't you find,
Mhm.
like, I still get affected by certain things or things my parents and how they view me or expect me to act and do. I'm almost 38 years old, and sometimes that stuff still influences me, and I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable, and I don't
Mhm.
know if that's me needing to heal or me needing to understand how to sit in those triggers and redirect those emotions or feelings. Because I know one of your more recent podcasts I listened to, it was, I think you called it like your sermon. It was a
Oh,
recorded call. It was such a good,
accidental
yeah, I loved it.
church.
But I think you kind of talked about that in a sense of those difficult conversations with a parent, with a coworker, friend, a child, whatever, in setting boundaries or just having difficult conversations. And we kind of need to figure out how we can react better. I don't know if I'm saying that wrong, or sit better with those difficult conversations. I know you talk about money and how that talking about money with anyone is hard, but a
Mhm.
partner, whatever it is, but I get triggered so easily. I feel like sometimes I'm in a really good vibe. I'm in a good flow. I'm having a good day. And then if something kind of takes me off that balance and triggers me and annoys me, I don't know if that's anxiety or just some self work I need to do, but I find I don't know how to get back into that like Zen zone. Like, what can we do as women and mothers to kind of like
Mhm.
recalibrate those feelings, which I feel like so many of us, it could be someone cutting you off in traffic and you go from like
Mhm.
0 to 100, just like that.
Yeah. So relatable and also like important to there was a couple moments in what you just said where you were like, "Is there something wrong with me? Like, I don't know if I'm doing this wrong. Like, does this happen to you?" And I just want to preface by saying I think what you're describing is just the human experience. Like, I just think I definitely I get triggered. Like, I
Hmm.
have things I'm always exploring and getting curious about and working through. Um, and something that I think is really helpful as far as the answer to your question, like, what do we do? Is something that I'm always doing is like reminding myself, like, not to make it mean anything. Like,
Mm.
how much of our lives do we spend wondering, what does this mean? And why do I do it? Like what is this? What's the root of this thing? Does this stem from my is this anxiety? I'm gonna diagnose it as anxiety? And I think there's a lot of reasons for that, including like the internet is just like so much
Mhm.
information all the time and we're all constantly like self-diagnosing. And after many years of feeling like I was just a constant thing I needed to fix And that showed up in a sneaky way. Like, I think I present very confident. Like, I felt like I'm doing the things, I'm like running businesses. But I still, there was like this little seed of a thought that was always just like, what is that? Why did that happen? Why did I get triggered? Why did I, I need to fix this.
Mm.
And I think when I started to shift away from like, maybe it doesn't mean anything. Like, maybe I'm just a fucking human on planet Earth, and it's annoying for my animal body to sit in traffic since I'm supposed to be, like, gathering berries on a farm or something. Like like in the caveman days, it's like our brains have adapted. You know, the modern
Ways.
age
Mhm.
is so not supportive to our animal bodies. And so sometimes it's just, like, acknowledging the friction of that and the how unreasonable it is. My favorite word lately has been unreasonable. Like, anytime I'm talking to, like, a friend, a client, I'm like, "No, it's really just unreasonable." Like, the demands on the modern woman are unreasonable. And, of course, like, how do we work with this? Which is always, for me, shifting out of, "What's wrong with me? What does this mean? What's the root of it?" into, "What do I actually need right now?"
Mm.
That is a neural pathway that most of us have never even explored. We literally are so fixated on what's the thing I need to fix? What's wrong? What does this mean? Why is this happening? That we don't have as much practice on the other side of that coin, let's say, which is exploring what is the thing that I actually really deeply need, desire, want, am craving in this moment, and focusing on that and
Mm. That's a
completing
big
that
energy
neural
shift
pathway.
too, right?
Oh,
Because a
yeah.
lot more energy, I think, goes into trying to fix or like negative things. And like you said, the neural pathways, I think that just feels more positive to think that way,
Mhm.
right? To like open up those connections. And I I think that probably just takes a lot of practice, right? Because your brain kind of takes those little thoughts and then spins them into a million other little thoughts that are not productive. So do you find that for yourself or working with clients that it is something that people have to kind of like live through and experience and practice and be more aware of it? Because it's hard. Our brains really want to, I don't know if they do want to protect us, but sometimes I feel like they're not doing it in the right way. And maybe that is whatever has happened over evolution. But I remember when I first went to therapy years ago and her just breaking down things so simply that I can't even believe in as an adult that I hadn't considered, like just telling
Mhm.
yourself out loud something a couple times, it then, goes into your brain a different way, or saying, hey, like that doesn't serve me. I don't need that right now. And just like saying that to yourself a
Mhm.
few times. And then your brain's like, okay, she doesn't need that. Let's think about, whatever,
Uh-huh.
what you're having for a snack or whatever it is. But it is a practice. It doesn't just happen and you have to be aware, but it is possible to, to, f-
Mm.
to fix, I guess. Is that right?
Well,
Or
I
help,
mean,
help yourself.
yes. Every the brain and the body are incredibly, like, what's the word? The neuroplasticity, right? Like, they're very flexible. They're very malleable.
And
It's
connected.
never too late. We can always rewire, shift, evolve. Like, that is my favorite thing about being alive. Is like everything is a new opportunity, is a new invitation, is a new choice. And also, I do find there is no, like, one size fits all template, and that's what we've been brainwashed to believe. Like, we get to experiment what works for us, right? And so, for example, there was a period in my life where therapy was so helpful. It was like I just needed somebody to do exactly what you just said, like, reflect some things to me, give me some give me some tools, um see my blind spots. And then what I noticed about maybe 5 years ago is I was like, I'm feeling a little stuck in this loop. I'm feeling a little stuck in this pattern. And I don't think that talking about it is the answer. I don't think I need more tips. I don't think I need more tricks. I don't think I need to practice more of what I've done. I mean, I've done it a lot. And that's when I started to understand the body, um, the body's role in our healing and how that could look for me and for my clients. And so I say that with like this big caveat that like everything works until it doesn't work, and like everybody's
Mm,
system is different, and you have to just explore and see what is moving the needle forward for you. And so what I do and what I received first as a client was um, working working with the limbic brain, which is like the part of your brain that operates without you knowing that it's doing anything. It's like the thing that helps you breathe, but you're not thinking about breathing.
mm,
And understanding the body's role in the limbic system, how it's holding on to patterns and trauma and triggers, and all the talking in the world is not gonna get you out of that loop. And so this is why the work that I do now is bottom up. We work from the limbic system up. We work from the body up because oftentimes um, the way to practice is like by having maybe a practitioner who understands this guide you bottom up. Because if you've been thinking your way through healing or fixing a trigger, let's say, and you're just feeling like you're in this endless loop, and then you're getting hard on yourself because you're like, why can't I change this? Like, what's wrong with me? I know all the things. It's probably a good indication that you could try something different. And so working bottom up is like practicing a really different way of
mm.
rewiring that works with the nervous system. And when you can do that, then the practice is, in my experience, it sticks.
So
It
how
really,
do we do if someone's listening and they're like, okay, I have done therapy or I've done these things, but like there's still something I need to address, or maybe they know what it is, they don't want to say it out loud, or they're not
uh-huh,
ready. Like what how do they go down that route with doing the bottom up approach, like you're
uh-huh.
saying?
So, oh my gosh, I feel like a little awkward being like, hello, I am for sale and you can
Yeah,
work with
no,
me. And
please, because people don't know. And
I
like,
think
if it's
it's,
not you and it's someone else that they've followed or adore on social media or whoever,
yeah.
it's like, so there are people like you that can help kind of like unravel those layers.
Yeah, I guess what I really want to say about that is like understand that that blind spot means like you get to have support with it. I can't believe how much of my life I spent feeling like I should know how to do this, or how often I'll hear people say like, why can't I do this? And so I think step 1 is just deciding that like you're not supposed to know how to bottom up like
Right.
rewire your nervous system and change your patterns
Because when
and
I
like
think of like when you're talking,
strengthen.
I'm thinking about like Reiki and things like
Oh,
that. Like, is that, I know that's not what you're doing, but like,
I mean I fucking love some Reiki, but no, it's
I've
not like
never done
Reiki.
it, but I'm just picturing you being there and like people are in like an energy way, being able to tap into things, or you're visualizing things that are like somewhere stored in your brain and your memory that they're able to pull out and like clear. I don't know, but I feel like that's what I need, or I need something. I need to go like deep because I can't really verbalize. And probably a lot of people can relate to that if they're going through some sort of transformation, whether it be motherhood or something else. Like you just need to get in there somehow. And you're right. You shouldn't be expected to know how to do that because I don't.
Mhm. Yeah, and yet your body does know how. And
Okay.
that's what I think is so cool, is like, yeah, for sure, whatever you feel drawn to, pulled to, like, start there. I mean, like, just
Somewhere.
start somewhere on the magic the yellow brick road and see where it takes you, and find the practitioners that resonate with you to guide you back into your body and soul and home to yourself. Because, um, if you feel trapped in your mind, then this is, like, what I call the cage of the conditioned mind, where you're just, like, thinking yourself to death, and it's exhausting. And so, um the way that I see it is like giving your body a felt experience of pleasure, giving your body a felt experience of safety, giving your body a felt experience of self trust, of power, of intuition, of inner knowing. Like these are the things that I am passionate about working with women through, because um, once you can do that, you are tapping into your body's natural intelligence. And so, something that I learned in my focalizing training. So I'm certified in one of the modalities I'm certified in is called focalizing, and it's a trauma informed nervous system based practice that works bottom up to help you heal. And they show you these videos in this course that I just thought was so cool. They show you, like, for example, one video was like a video of a polar bear that's been like chased down by humans, shot with like a tranquilizer dart so they could do some operation on it, and then they bring it back to the wild. They like reintegrate it. They stand back, but they have cameras to watch what does this polar bear do when it
Mhm.
has just been through what we can all agree would be like pretty traumatic to be like
Yes.
chased down, drugged, blackout, and then come
Sounds
back.
like birth.
An abduction, yeah, right, and so the point they're making is that the body already knows how to find balance, it knows how to heal, it knows how to resource, how to experience safety, pleasure, all these things, because the animal kingdom does not experience trauma. The animal kingdom does not
Mm.
experience PTSD, and so there was researchers like Dr. Peter Levine who started to really get curious about this. And this is how somatic experiencing was born. And the teacher, the creator of focalizing was Dr. Pacucci, and he worked with Peter Levine, right? So the idea here is exploring the body's natural intelligence to heal and find balance and pleasure and homeostasis and safety. And so if you watch this video of the polar bear, he comes back from being tranquilized, they have a video, and he like opens his eyes. And I'm thinking like, I'm like, as a human, your first thought is like, what the fuck? Where am I? What just happened? And he starts to shake uncontrollably.
Mm.
Okay. This polar bear just shakes for like maybe 2 minutes, maybe 90 seconds. And after he shakes and releases all this stuck energy in his system, he takes like two enormous breaths. Like you can see his whole body, like,
Ooh.
and then he like pauses
Mhm.
and then he stands up and he shakes it off and he walks away.
Business as usual.
Business as usual. And of course, like, we're not polar bears. We have these brains that are amazing and we don't want to shame our brains. But unless we start to tap into the body's natural intelligence to work through the trauma, to work through the stress loops or the anxiety or the patterns that are keeping us stuck, we're going to miss out on the way that we were innately designed. And we're not taught how to do this. It's not, I would say, like, maybe somatic experiencing is becoming a little bit more mainstream now, but um yeah, we deserve to learn these things about our bodies and about our systems. And once you start to see, like, oh, this is actually the way that I was designed. This is how I'm already like equipped to experience my life and heal and feel good more often and all of that. It becomes easier and easier and easier, and hence the practice, and there you go.
It feels like for so long, people have been like previous generations have just been on this, like, I don't want to say hamster wheel or just this like cycle that goes over and over, which is, like, let's just paint with a broad brush, but it's like, find a partner, get married,
Mhm.
have a child, like
Mhm.
get a home. I guess that maybe
Mhm.
come beforehand, and then have kids, retire, like picket fence, all that. Like that has been kind of this visual that has been painted, especially in previous generations, like probably our grandparents and our parents, and now with our generation, and obviously the younger people coming in. It's like we know that that is not reality, and we also don't necessarily want that. So
Mhm.
I feel like being able to understand kind of where you want to go or what you want out of life is part of the journey as well, and like super hard. And I think that that's kind of the transformation I'm going through right now. Like you said, there's always, as humans and women, mothers, we go through these cycles of rebirth and transformation. And it does feel uncomfortable. And sometimes it feels wrong to not want these visuals or these like ideals that have been like placed on us. And do you find that that is something that women kind of struggle with, is like, I don't want that, or I don't want to have kids, or I don't want to do that job anymore. I want this, but it feels wrong, but it feels right to me. Like I let a lot of outside influences sometimes affect me. I'm working on it as I get older and more sure of who I am, but it's really tough to kind of like shed those layers as well, or detangle. Let's keep that phrase going.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, the brainwashing is strong.
It's
It's
so
very
strong. It's
strong.
like so I think it's gonna get better. Like I hope for my kids or my child or like my future kids, if there's more, or their kids, that it will be different and better because we know better and we know differently, I guess I should say. But I find there's a real shift in generations to see the world differently and want different things. I mean, you're in the US, we're in Canada. Obviously, there's a lot of political things happening that are like very polarizing and different, but it's just like, obviously, the people in place are a lot older than us. And sometimes it's like, you guys just aren't getting it yet. I don't know. Do you feel that way?
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, I think part of my journey has been about really reconciling the people who came before me and the choices they made and the way that they prioritized and the things that they valued, and understanding that part of my privilege and like responsibility to be the most me I can possibly be
Mm-hmm.
comes from the fact that I come from a line of people who maybe didn't have quite as much opportunity to do that, right? Like I think I like to believe that, politics aside and getting like a little bit more like micro with it, like our immediate families of origin and our ancestors, that they were doing the best they could to keep us safe. And they were like, we figured it out. This is a way, right? And they did not realize that the way that they were mapping it out for themselves and for us actually took away their sovereignty, their
Mm-hmm.
power, that they were actually really like enmeshed in like patriarchy and white supremacy and all kinds of things, right? And so without getting too into that, I think that what helps me not feel quite so overwhelmed by it is really making it, I call this like the it's all me framework, like pulling it into myself and just thinking like, okay, this is like a self-trust situation. This is okay, I come from a long line of people that for whatever reason, and I'd like to believe it's mostly well-intentioned ancestors, they made all of their decisions what I call outside in, right? They like look around at this template, the blueprint out there, and be like, okay, that worked great for Theodore. Let's do it over here. And then we
Mm-hmm.
will not starve to death. We won't be, our heads won't be chopped off, whatever the thing was at the time, right? And what we have this unique opportunity to do as women is to go, it's all me, inside out. Okay, this is about me, identifying that I do have inner knowing. There's like something else, there's another intelligence besides the one out there that tells me all of the realistic and practical and logical and smart choices to make. There's something happening inside of me. There's the natural intelligence and wisdom of my body, which we kind of touched on a moment ago. And then there's also like this intuition, this inner wisdom, this inner knowing. And once I, begin to even acknowledge and recognize that that exists, that it just exists. Was like the first couple years of my journey was like, oh my gosh, I have this inner knowing and it's this compass that's always guiding me. Okay, so now we know it exists. Now, how do we trust it?
Mm.
How do we then not only validate it, make it a credible source of authority over our lives, but then trust it when it says, oh, Theo's building a white picket fence, but it seems like you want to be a nomad or like move to Mexico or I don't know, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is, right? That to me is like where the rubber meets the road. And it's very tempting, or it has been for me in my life, to make it all about everything out there. Like, well, it's because Theo is da 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 da, or the patriarchy, or my mom, or it's not fair, versus it's all me reminds me, like, but I have this inner knowing. And I have this one incredible opportunity in my one incredible life to make this choice that actually feels aligned with my insides. And like, what if I just try it?
Mm.
What if I trusted myself to believe that I get to and that I couldn't fuck it up even if I tried? Because there is no such thing as perfect, and mistakes are how we learn. And part of figuring out what you do want is figuring out what you don't want, just like dating,
Oh, I
It's like
love that.
you have to date a lot of toads before you're like, "Oh my gosh, finally I figured it out. This I don't like that kind of a person. I want to be with this kind of a person." And I just like to imagine that designing our life is the same way. And it gets to be fun. It gets to be nonlinear, cyclical, like the phoenix, right? It's twisty and turny. And it's just this endless experiment of checking in, like, okay, society tells me all this stuff and it feels really messed up and unfair and confusing and impossible. But if I was really being honest and bringing it in, like instead of outside in, it's going inside out. Okay, I'm going to start with me.
Mm.
What do I know? I know that, like, I want to have 5 more kids, even though that always thought I'd have 1, or like I want to quit my job, but I thought I would work forever. I want to be a stay-at-home mom, but I thought I was going to be this boss ass bitch, like whatever. And can I trust that and take the next right step towards that thing, unattached to it, you know, looking like a profit margin, right? Because my life is not a business. My life is like this garden of beautiful flowers and vegetables, and like it's always changing and there's going to be seasons and I don't
Mhm.
know how it's going to go. But if I can trust my inner knowing, then I get to do my life differently than society has taught me. And I get to like reap the benefits of that. I get
Mhm.
to like reap the harvest. I get to feel the satisfaction of knowing that what I chose was what I wanted and is right for me, and it feels really good.
It's that whole growth mindset, I think, is just knowing that, like, you are going to mess stuff up, like you said, if you try something new, but that's how we grow and evolve. And I think not being in a mindset that just keeps us in a box. And some people like being in the box. And if you're happy and you're just on whatever trajectory and
Mhm.
like you don't want to rock the boat and you like that blueprint and you're taking that blueprint and it gives you comfort and you like that, like, good for you. Unfortunately, I've never felt like that. I've never I've always in my mind questioned things and wondered why they had to do it that way, or like why, like, I don't want to do that, like, but it was really hard growing up, and I grew up in a very small town, to understand kind of what those views were. Like, they're confusing, and obviously when you're a teenager and a young adult, that's kind of normal to question things and have different views. But I love what you're saying, the inside out, because when you were just explaining it, I have like a complete visual, because it happens to us
Mm.
every single day. We have these voices, we have these little like intuitive thoughts and things. And I think about honoring them and also asking yourself, like, what does that mean? Like, how am I trying to guide myself, or how am I trying to change whatever it is in my day based on how I'm feeling inside? And again, it does come with practice. I
Mhm.
think it was the book Untamed I read years and years ago.
Mhm.
And they talk about, like, you get these like thoughts and these things that come about you. Everyone gets them, but it's like, who's going to act on them? Who is going to listen
Mm.
and kind of take that and run with it? Because we all have similar ideas and similar thoughts. Like, it could have been someone who invented, I don't know, like Instagram, whatever it is. It's like, I had that exact idea. But the thing
Mhm.
that separates us is that person had that idea and listened to that and wanted to drive
Mm.
some type of change and went after it. And I feel like that's really the state that I'm in, is like, don't talk yourself down from things because you don't think it's possible. It is possible. And you need to continue to sharpen those tools to listen to your inner knowing and follow them. And if it gets fucked up, it gets fucked up and you move on. Like you were saying, like the whole rebirth and like trials and things that we need to do. I think that you need to be open to that. And like motherhood is like that every day. You can't have a blueprint. You
Mhm.
are going to think it's going to be a certain way, or think you should already know how something is going to be played out. I have this note in here in quotes saying, like, I should know this already. I believed you talked about
Mm.
that on your podcast. It's like you think that you should already know how to do something, and setting those expectations around being a parent is a bad idea, because you
Mhm.
don't. Every child is different, every reaction, every stage, every situation, every state of mind that you may be in as a parent is going to
Mhm.
change from minute to minute or hour by hour. And you kind of just have to take a step back and roll with it. And like earlier, you said, like, ask yourself, what do I want out of this right now? Like, how do I actually
Mhm.
get through this? And if it is just like giving into giving them a snack because you need to get out the
Mhm.
door, like probably just give it and give them a snack. Like don't have
Mhm.
an expectation that uh that are too unrealistic.
Mm. I'm just, like, shaking my head at everything you
Yeah,
say.
just like the
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, like it's just I don't know. I think that there's so much coming through to me right now, but it's really about that like deprogramming some of the thoughts and the feelings and just like going with it, not being afraid. And I think that's what our bodies and brains have been trying to protect us from is being afraid. Like you should be afraid.
Yeah.
If you're afraid, then you should result in doing this because this is like you said, the blueprint and the safe
Mhm.
way. But like no
Mhm.
growth is going to
Mhm.
come out of that. No change, like no big
Yeah.
inventor or big businesswoman created
Yeah.
something great because they were scared to take a chance. And I think that's really what life is all about. It's
Mhm.
just doing it. And I've talked to so many different moms via social media when I would put out some things about like you're still a person and your dreams matter. And it doesn't matter if you had your baby 3 months ago or your child's 13 or 3 and you feel like you still need to fit in this box, but you don't want to, like you don't. And you can send your child to daycare before your mat leaves up because you have some inner calling or some ideas that you want to work on. And I feel like that is really hard for us to do. But I've had people say, like, thank you for saying that because I've quit my job because now I see everything so differently through my lens of motherhood. Now that I have a child, everything's different. Every
Mhm.
aspect of your life, and you probably talked about that with Jesse Harold a little bit, is like it
Mhm.
does take years to become who you are as a mother. And then, like, you may have a second kid or a third kid, and then it changes again and again and again and again. And I just like praise all the women out there who are taking chances and who have small kids or who have kids, period, and want to show them kind of like a different path and want to be a different example, especially to you have 2 daughters, right?
2 daughters and a son.
And a son. Do you find that it's different with your daughters than your son with like different paths that you want to pave, like as a woman to woman, or they're probably still
I mean,
young?
yes.
Yeah.
I don't know about paths I wanna pave.
Yeah,
Oh
pave
gosh.
your own path.
I mean,
Mom's
I can
tired.
definitely, like, there's different things that I'm looking for, but it's also I just think of them I try to just see who they are because, for
Mm.
example, my son doesn't, check a lot of the, like, alpha male, like, check boxes that a lot or, like, he's not, like, super hyperactive and, like, crazy, like, a lot of people like, "Oh, boys are like this and girls are like that," and so, um, always looking for the ways that they're the exception to the rule and how I can just uniquely help them strengthen the places where they need a little encouragement and also cheer them on where they're already strong um and also help them to be really aware of the ways that they're always being conditioned and brainwashed, even by me on accident, when I do something and then my daughter will be like, "You made me think of it that way." And I'm like, "Oh, shit, you're right. You're right. I did that. And I'm sorry. I did that because I was afraid of
Good for
this or I
her.
was feeling uncomfortable with this." And yeah, I just think it's like endless, endless lessons and mistakes and
It's so
like
hard.
you said, like, being really fluid and flexible and pivoting moment to moment with parenting. I mean, I'm just thinking about when I became a mom for the first time and how it wasn't even that I was, like, afraid I didn't think I was afraid to try new things. I just thought, like, "No, I'm gonna show everyone that I can be the same. Look at me.
Like be the
I'm
same
actually
person you were
yeah, I'm
before. Yeah.
actually not gonna change when I become a mom because I'm gonna be even better with kids." And, like, it was almost like change was a sign of failure. Like,
Mm.
whether I was changing the sleep schedule or, like, changing the rules or changing my career, it felt like that was, like, the opposite of what I had been taught is, like, success. Changing your body, like, changing your dreams, changing everything. It's just, like, change was so scary to me, and I didn't even realize that it was this thing, like, hanging over my head, and once I just leaned back and was like, "Change is like, nature is change. Nature is constantly changing." So nature as the
Mhm.
guide, and, like, everything in life is changing And patriarchy wants me to not honor that. Capitalism wants me to just keep moving forward and be a good producer. Okay, so what is actually real for me is like, yeah, evolution feels good and it's not a sign of failure and it's not a mistake. And can I get curious about that? Like when you said, I've always been just like curious. I just think curiosity is a superpower. And when you can get curious about like, who's my kid today? What am I afraid of today? Where am I resisting? Where can I lean into pleasure? The better your life gets. And whether it's career or motherhood or womaning, I just am always exploring that, like getting curious about that. Like, how good can it get? Even now, as
Mm.
this crazy season is here or this change is here that I fought like hell to not have be here. Okay. Okay. How can I allow it to be easy? How good can it get? Where's my pleasure? What are the things I can do to orient towards, yeah, safety, pleasure, feeling good and build a life that way, like through practice
Mhm.
and repetition and support.
We are all works in progress. That's
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
are. For
That's for
sure.
sure. And it is hard for people, I think, to digest or understand where to start in like new practices or kind of dealing with whatever you have inside or trauma. It is hard. People, I think in my experience, you think that you have to like sit down and start meditating every day and you need to
Mhm.
start journaling and you need to read a self-help book and listen to all these podcasts. And sometimes you can just not do anything because you feel like that is just too much on top of the mental load,
Mhm.
the load that you have in general, just your workload. But I feel like what you were saying earlier, if people are listening and they want to just start somewhere, it's like,
Mhm.
connecting with a coach. What do you actually call yourself? Are you a coach or like,
Mhm.
how do you define? Okay, coach,
Lately, I call myself an inner transformation coach.
inner
I might change
transformation
it though.
coach.
I don't know.
And you can, if you want to
Yeah.
change it.
I mean, I started as a life coach. That was 11 years ago though, and I now have a hypnotherapy training and a
Ooh,
vocalizing training, and so it just doesn't quite feel like that's
mm,
what I do at all
there's an
anymore.
umbrella.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can connect with someone like you, like some coach that you're drawn to, a therapist,
Mhm.
like a teacher, a friend, whoever it is, but just start
Uh-huh.
somewhere and kind of I just love what you said. Just I went to therapy again a few months ago. It was my first time. I had been a long time. It was a new one because my other one like changed. She went like private, I think in like the government, so I couldn't work with her anymore. And it's hard to reconnect with someone. It's hard to kind of like start unless you have a major issue that you're like, hey, what? Maybe your parents got divorced or someone died or like this happened. It is hard to start with someone new and start. I think that's the hardest part and be like, I don't really know what I'm here. I'm here because I want to be, and I'm here because I just want to empower myself with the tools that I'm going to need to get through tough situations. And I feel like that's where coaching and help comes in because you're the one that's equipped with all the tools to help. But I feel like it can be mentally hard for people to just start.
Mm.
That feels like too much work on top of all the other shit that moms have to do. We don't want to
Mhm.
add, but you will
Mhm.
feel better. You will feel lighter. You will feel more empowered, and things will stick with you. It's not like school sometimes when you just like don't
Mhm.
give a shit and you're like, this isn't serving me. These things are going to help you and help you get through any time. Like it could be, like I said, the
Mhm.
traffic thing. Like, how do you then just like help yourself get through these annoying little things? And like motherhood is filled with that. There's times every single day that are just like annoying little situations that like our brains and our bodies just hate. You love them to death, every little ounce of their beings. But like there's times when you're like, oh, look at my husband, just like, or he could
Yeah.
leave the room and I'm annoyed with him. And I'm just like, I just like,
Yeah.
I hate this. And I think just knowing like, let it out or tell yourself, okay, like, what do I do next? Like, how do I get through this? What's going to help me? And just recognize that you're triggered and you need to
Mhm.
shift.
Mhm. Mhm. Can I say something about that? Or I know
Yes.
we're like running low on time, so I don't
No,
wanna.
please, please, please.
I mean, I just first of all, like just normalizing that like motherhood is like any other relationship. It's never gonna be like rainbows and butterflies all the time. Like there's nobody that I want to be with all the time. except for myself, and I'm with myself the least amount of time, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so it's just like it gets to be like a healthy, normal relationship just like all the others, and I think our culture puts like all this pressure on mothers to just be these like pious Virgin Marys or something. Like, I don't get it. It's just so
We ain't
unrealistic.
that.
It's not that, and it doesn't need to be that, and it actually you enjoy it so much more when you just, like, let it be what it is, and, as far as, like, a tactical thing, I just was thinking when you were sharing about, like, find a coach or just find somebody that resonates, and I just think even if you are not in a season to you're like, "I don't wanna do the work," or it's, like, overwhelming, I would just encourage everybody to get curious about the wisdom that is already there that is guiding you to your next right thing. And I talk to my clients a lot about this. Like, there is always a next step that is there that we are
Mm.
avoiding. And it is not usually like go to India and meditate for 3 months. It's like usually like text this person or check out that kickboxing class or look up insurance providers, like watch this show, like go shopping. Like, I feel like there are little tiny ways that we are getting messages all the time from our soul that is letting us know, like, hey, could you just like, oh, it would be so nice to like have a break and just explore this thing. And those little guideposts, I think, guide us home to ourselves and guide us to pleasure.
Mm.
And sometimes it is not the season where you need to be like doing this intense inner work. I was talking to somebody I know, and she was like, I know you're going to tell me I need to work with a somatic practitioner, but she's kickboxing. And I was like, no, I think you should just like go to kickboxing every week. Like, you did it once and you loved it and you want to go again. Go back. Great.
Mhm.
Kickboxing once a month versus no kickboxing is better than nothing. And it's right there. You want to do it. You're feeling to do it. You intuitively are like, God, I kind of want to check out that kickboxing class. You already did it once. You love it. It's accessible,
Mm.
right? If you feel like you have to climb the tallest mountain to be okay, it's probably a trap.
Yeah.
There's probably some like conditioning and pressure, and you can just give yourself permission to get curious about like, actually, what's like the easiest next best thing I can do? And can I make myself a salad for lunch when I literally for a month have just been like eating peanut butter and jelly crusts from my kids' lunchboxes? Like, that counts. That is the wisdom, that natural intelligence of our bodies and souls guiding us to, like, why I call it like find your water. It's like guiding us home to pleasure, to like relief. And sometimes that's what healing looks like. It's like if you've been
Mm.
in a period of like such intense depletion or overwhelm, it's just finding these little ways that you can just feel good
Mhm.
without it, you
Simply.
know, upending your whole entire life. So there's a season for everything, and you can trust yourself to know the difference and just trust that there's at least a next right step that is good enough if it makes you feel good.
I love that so much. And when you do those little things and have those little pleasure experiences, your vibe and energy and just who you are feels, it's probably because you're more aligned, but you feel so much better. Even when I do work on the podcast and get to talk and meet people like you. When I leave here, when I leave this
Mhm.
studio, I'm like vibing. I want to talk to everyone
Mhm.
at the coffee shop. I want to talk to people on the street. Like, I just feel like I can do anything. And is that
Mhm.
probably because I'm just like in alignment with myself and like what I actually desire inside?
I mean, I would call that you're really resourced. That's like
Ooh,
the word we use in
I'm
my
so resourced today.
community. But yeah, it's like, I mean, just think about all the messages, especially like for someone like you in your community, like mothers get all these messages about what they're allowed to do. And imagine if you had none of the noise and you
Mm,
just were still a
didn't.
mom. Your kids didn't starve to death. Like, you gave them love. And you also were like, today I'm going to like call a sitter and like record a podcast because like that would feel so good.
Mhm.
And you just did that all day long, all the time. You just like noticed what would feel so good and you gave yourself permission to do it, then you'd be so resourced. And when you're resourced,
Mm.
this is like way deeper than the like fill your cup and get self-care. We're talking about soul care. We're talking about like your body feels alive, like you're tapped into your womanhood and not just like, I am a mom and this is this one job that I do. Like, you're
And
giving
that's
yourself
what we
permission to
want.
be.
Like, that's what we want,
You
right?
do. You
As
want to be like multidimensional. You want to be a whole person and feel like you have permission. and resources to do that. And so when we do that, whether that's like having sex or going to a dance class or working or not working,
Like
we're like, oh, wow,
reading.
I feel alive. I
Hmm.
actually feel like a human and not just like this one job title that I have. It's like taking the pressure off. And that is the thing I think we need to practice the most. And that that will set you free.
And as
Keep
you're saying
doing it.
that, like mom guilt and flashing
Of
lights
course.
is
Of
coming
course.
out that we all experience. And I think that in the 2 years of my motherhood journey and self transformation, that is a real thing. And that takes a lot of time and practice to deal with because it's fucking the worst. And I don't think it ever
Mhm.
goes away. I don't think it
Mhm.
does. But you start to manage it at times, I think, better. And also seeing your child, whether it's a family member or a daycare or like a babysitter, whatever your situation or your partner with your child, and knowing they're fine, they're happy, they're thriving. And mom can leave and go for a walk by herself or go to work or go to a fitness class. It does get easier, but in the beginning, I found that hard. I would have immense anxiety just going to the grocery store by myself, feeling like he needed me and I need to get
Uh-huh.
home. And I'm sure that is like a maternal instinct and things that we have. And like we want to be with them and they want to be with us. So as they get older, I don't think it goes away, but I think that we're able to manage it differently. And if you're struggling, you might have a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old, and you still struggle to go on a girls' trip or go to the gym or do things. Like you need to just start somewhere. Like you said, like book the sitter, do one thing. Like just start somewhere and realize that it is possible to feel like Ashley or Gervase again. It does take time and steps to get in that like groove. But once you start it and once you get those feelings and that bliss of being with yourself and doing things that you feel are aligned with yourself, it will get easier. But it, again, the theme of what we're talking about is like it does take time and it does take practice. And I think just sitting with that and realizing it's going to be hard to leave them for the first time. It's going to be hard to go and focus on myself. Just start there and know that it is going to be hard and it will get easier as time goes on.
Yeah. And what are the things you can do to make it a little bit easier
Mhm.
even as you're doing it?
Yeah, exactly.
What does
Like
that
figure it
look like?
out.
I don't know, but just yeah,
And
I love
everyone's
that.
different. It will be different for everyone. So don't expect there to be a blueprint. If you're looking for one, find one and try it. And if that
Yes.
doesn't work, try something else.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah, I
Like,
always think like there's millions of women who have done this before me.
and her people
Like
are
it
giving birth
can't
right now or
right.
bringing
Like so
children into their homes right now.
right now all the time and like since the beginning of time and that is very resourcing to me to be like I'm not the first person in the history of the world to like have a baby and like go for a walk and leave the baby with someone else. Like that's not always whatever. That sounds like a super privilege. Like sometimes that's not possible and I totally hold space for that, but just honoring like the resilience and innovation and the fact that like I come from an ancestry of like millions of mothers who have done this. So like I can do this. Like I can do this and I'm not alone. And
And you
if
can
they
find
could do
people
it.
to coach you through that. Like whether it's a
Yeah.
Facebook group or a local mom group, it's like I feel like I was writing about this recently. When you become a mom and you something just switches and you realize how much you need these other moms, like people you may have just met at like a baby class or a breastfeeding class, whatever it is, you'll meet new people and you will just be aligned because you have so much in common about
Mhm.
something that's just so insane and
Mhm.
new. It's so hard to describe, but like reach out to those
Mhm.
people or find those people or find someone that you can just feel like comfort in the discomfort that
Mhm.
you're in. Let's just say, because, like you
Totally.
said, there's millions of people going through it. There's millions of people that have gone through it before. And we're all here to help and support each other. You are not alone on this crazy ride.
You're not alone. It's figure
And we get
outable.
it. We all get it.
Yes.
No mother does not
Gosh.
get it.
And if she doesn't, maybe just don't hang out with that
Yeah,
one.
find another one. Find someone else. Well, Gervase, this has been such a pleasure and so lovely. I feel like we could
Mm,
just talk for days.
I know. Thanks so much.
If people would like to learn more about you and what you do and how they could work with you, I know you have a website. Can you, because it's stunning. I've actually looked at it and your photos, like everything is, the aesthetic is 10 out of 10. But where is the best place for people to connect with you?
Well, I guess definitely if you say it's a 10 out of 10, let's start at the website. It's gervasekolmos.com. And my Instagram is also the same as my first and last name together, Gervase Kolmos. And I've got a group program coming out called the Inner Knowing Mastermind. I do one-on-one coaching, a yearly retreat. Just reach out, whether through the website
Podcast.
or through Instagram. Oh, and the podcast. Definitely come check out the podcast, The Modern Phoenix. Give us a listen and see if that resonates. But yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just
have a
so
listen
honored to
there.
be
I feel like
here.
that's a good way to kind of understand, some of the work that you do and what you speak about. And I will link all of those good things in the show notes so people can check you out. Thank you
Thanks so
so much. Thank
much.
you.